somebody at some point posting on her, like on one of her social media accounts, how, oh, you know, my husband just brought me breakfast in bed, you know, hashtag alhamdulillah, and all of these things, right? And so, you know, you look at that and you're thinking, like, all these other women look and they're like, my husband doesn't give me breakfast in bed, right? Like that, and then they become dissatisfied. And then later on, about a year later, the same person reaches out to me and tells me that she's actually struggling with domestic violence with her husband, right? So people portray what they choose to portray, and it is unrealistic. And it's really important for us to know that, so that we can maintain realistic expectations, which is very, very hard to do. People have completely unrealistic expectations, and it makes sense that people have unrealistic expectations, right? Like, we have all of this media, like, forget about just movies and things like that. Yeah, movies, we all know, and TV shows, we all know, are completely unrealistic portrayals of healthy relationships, right? We know that. But even more are what real people portray through media, through social media, right? Real people and the way that they portray their relationships on social media are completely false and completely unrealistic. People post their highlight reels, and we all compare the low points in our lives to their high points, right? And furthermore, unrealistic expectations are also a trap of shaitan. Like, this is one of the things that he uses to create a sense of dissatisfaction, right? Because when you're content, you feel close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're worshiping him better and things like that. This sense of contentment is something so beautiful, right? So discontent is going to be something that shaitan is always trying to breed within us. And he always tries to get us to think that nothing is good enough other than an unreachable standard. Because what happens when you set unreachable standards? You give up. And that's one of his goals, right? Like, even the way that, look at the way he tempted Adam alayhi salam and Eve. When he said to them to eat from the tree that they were not permitted to eat from. He said to them, your Lord has forbidden this tree to you only to prevent you from becoming angels or immortals. And then he swore to them, I am truly your sincere advisor. So what does he do? He tells them, you're human, right? And what's the virtue of an angel? One of the virtues of an angel is that they worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 24/7, tirelessly worshiping Allah. And so Adam alayhi salam's, you know, like, he wants to be able to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that much, right? So this standard of perfection, that's how shaitan got to him. He didn't get to him by telling him to stop worshiping Allah. No, he got to him by making him aim for a standard that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't tell him to aim for, right? And this is what shaitan tries to convince us, that if you can't obtain perfection, it's not even worth trying. And so if your spouse is not perfect for you, if your spouse doesn't obtain perfection, then the marriage is doomed, right? And so people have these unrealistic expectations